ceremony is said to go back to 1432. That's a long time. The first ceremony to commence was at Oxford University. At that time, each student was required to deliver a sermon in Latin as part of his academic requirements. So I myself am really relieved that this has changed, because I don't know Latin. In fact, the only language I ever studied was Elvish, and I really don't think that would count. So, anyways, I would like to express my students, my fellow students, not mine, my fellow students, myself, our thanks to our teachers at Raven, our parents, and all of you for all of the time that you've devoted to us in our high school years. So, high school, yeah, it's over, thankfully. But anyways, one of the major problems that we have is attitude. Growing up, developing the right attitude. Thomas Jefferson once said that nothing can stop the man with the right mental attitude from achieving his goal. However, nothing on earth can help the man with the wrong mental attitude. To apply this in our lives, we need to ask ourselves a few questions. Where does our attitude come from? Our attitude comes from our heart. It is here that it starts. What shapes our attitude? The things that shape our attitude are what we hold in our hearts. If our heart is filled with dark feelings and thoughts, this will shape our attitude. So what is in our hearts? Are they filled with despair and dread? Or do they contain peace, joy, and happiness? How can we change our attitude? For us to change our attitude, we need to change what is in our hearts. If they hold despair and dread, how are we supposed to fix this? We have to focus on something that is both positive and uplifting. Many people look to different things at this point, but the most wonderful thing that you could look to is the Word of God. If you spend your time focusing on that, what is in your heart will be peaceful and joyful, and that is what will change your attitude. A splendid example of this is found back during World War II, in May of 1943, when a B-24 bomber by the name of the Green Hornet crashed into the South Pacific Ocean. The crash killed all but 3 of the 7 crew. The 3 surviving members managed to make it into 2 tiny life rafts. The rafts they were held in contained no food or shelter to protect them from the elements. These men floated for 33 days before one of them died. This one that died, he was in perfect condition. He hadn't been harmed at all by the crash, and he'd eaten what little food he'd hid from the members of his crew. Later, when the crew survived and they were questioned about it, they said that he just lost all hope. He didn't have the right attitude. The 2 remaining crew members, Louis Zamperin and Russell Phillips, floated on for 2 more weeks after this. They survived the 47 days in the raft and the POW camp that followed, because they had the right mental attitudes for the situation at hand, an attitude of hope, peace, and thankfulness. It was because they had the hope of rescue, the peace in their trials, and the thankfulness that they were still alive that they survived. These things stayed in their hearts and came out in their attitudes. This is just one of many examples of how having the right attitude will help you throughout your life. In closing, I would like to thank you, and please give a round of applause to the graduating class of 2012.